Back to another episode. Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're all keeping well. I've got glasses now. If you've been following the work that I've done since I got back from Texas, you will know that I left my spectacles over there, and as such, my eyeballs have been affected accordingly. So now I can see we're back to business as usual, business as normal. As things are happening. Good morning, good afternoon, rather, to Board and to Hassan Amin. I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Good to see you all. Now, a couple of things that we can start in terms of talking about. Let's not beat around the bush. Today has been a very long day spent profiling and coaching and stood up and teaching. So we're gonna not beat around the bush. We're gonna get straight to it. We're gonna get straight to the things that we are going to talk about this evening, which is the technological influence on the way that we think, on how we believe that Sherlock Holmes would have thought as a result. Now I'm not wearing the Edith glasses anymore. I'm wearing my actual glasses. Though the Edith glasses did help me to see a little. These are my actual prescription-based ones. My new eyeballs. Oh gosh, boss! What, Hassan? What? I don't know what you want or what you mean. There is there's not a great deal of nuance to that. So we're going to carry on with the subject matter at hand, which would be technology. Right? Technology is one of those things that you've heard me moan about time and time and time and time again, and it is mostly because of my dislike for the attachment to it, my uh, belief, if you want to call it that, that the over reliance on technology is going to do more harm than good when it comes to your capacity to think about the things that you are observing, about the things that you are working on, about the problems that it is that you're facing, the cases that it is that you're working on. And one of my well, it's fast become my favorite because I quote it so much. But one of the preferential masterclasses, from masterclass.com, I believe it's called, or something along those lines, is the Neil deGrasse Tyson masterclass. Ooh, wow, wait 1 second. Let me address this question that's come in. Bro, what should I do? Forget everything, and I am 14 and got no interest in nothing, not even sports, video games. I don't understand the question, Hassan. What should you do for should you forget everything? No. No. Um there you go. That's the only question I can kind of draw from that. Now, one of the things that we looked at within the breakdown of the Neil deGrasse Tyson masterclass was the concept of intellectual laziness. He presented it with a kind of polarizing topic of being about crystals, in that if somebody presented a crystal to you, it might be readily easy for you to just go, well, that crystal is nonsense because you don't believe in it, or go, well, that crystal is awesome and will solve everything because you believe in it. Both are as intellectually lazy as the other. There's nothing inquisitorial about it. So when you look at the first point, which is our access towards information, it is something that doesn't very often provide an abundance of learning for us, mostly because we have everything at our fingertips. So there is no impetus, there is no recourse for us to do our learning, our exploring, our education, our growth, our assessment skills, our critical thinking skills in any sense of any part of it, because our intellectual laziness is such that there are things that exist that are designed to do the work for us. Socrates spoke of his, well, there's some historical contention as to whether he actually said it, but the point remains that when you have a reliance on writing things down, that it is to imbue man with the nature of forgetting. And that has essentially been the problem of sorts when you're looking at technology. Technology to kind of do your work for you. And it exists within the realms of magic and performance. There are so many things that I've used in the past. There are so many things that are designed to do the work for you. You'll see it in magic trick trailers. No skill required, no sleight of hand required, no memorization required, no I don't know, no gimmicks required, anything. Right. So what are you doing? This kind of fast became the opening point to the lectures that I used to give. Like, are you a magician or a mentalist or whatever you are, or are you just a likable, confident performer that knows where to shop? And that was the kind of the rub, the trade-off. Let's have a look. Hassan's come back with another comment. Tell me the solution. No, I am saying I have a retention problem, focus, and I am lethargic and lazy every second of the day. Tell me the solution. There, as much as I would love to provide a kind of utilitarian solution for you in this way, that's not something I could do. That's something that requires further investigation from trained professionals in your area that can provide that kind of assistance to you. There are methods, techniques that you can use to develop certain properties within you, but if you are lethargic and lazy every second of the day, there is not going to be a one size fits all approach to helping you with that. You will need to source some help and assistance for yourself, and I hope that you get that. I hope that you get that. I really do. Um, let's have a look. Boards in. It brings back the point of AI on that matter. Most people who are afraid of it is because they think it's a magic thing that will dominate the world, and or that it's a solution for everything. Absolutely. Right? When everything is at your fingertips, is there a reliance on you to really do things for yourself? In a nutshell, the answer is kind of a version of no. There is no reliance on you to do things for yourself. But if you're going to develop any kind of competence within this way of thinking about things, then you need to make that happen. There is a concerted effort that is involved within the exploration of all things. I have a group of people that have been training with me now for eight and a bit months. 8 and a bit months, once a week. And even with that once a week, the work and the exploration of each lesson that takes place on that basis is taking up a lot of time during the week. Or, let's be fair, on the other side of that coin, they're not employing it as much as they could or should. But this is the nature of getting involved with the kind of information that you would need to in order to be able to make it do things that you need to. I, bro, you are a light of knowledge in this area of darkness. Cringe and jahil? Jahil. Jahil people. I don't know what that means. But thank you. Yeah. I try and be of help where I can. Anyway, so what we're saying with this, much as I made a short video on this topic when I was over in Texas. I'm going to publish it. Um, I'm going to publish it soon. There is the understanding that this type of way of looking at things, or this natural breakdown of information, or getting a better memory, or whatever it is a um, skill, is a purely cognitive process, is purely something that happens in here. Whereas that is part of it. It's not purely that. It is an action. It is a habit. It is a doing. It is the engagement of physical and cerebral aspects of your life within the kind of information that you are getting to grips with. Hang on. I have a message coming in from one of the students. Oh God, that's quite a long message. I will look at that. I will look at that soon. If she's watching, I will look at that soon. But that is a long message for now. So this is job one: is addressing your connection towards information access. There's nothing wrong with having the wealth and breadth of information at your fingertips that everybody has, whether that be in books, PDFs, podcasts, professionals in the well, anything along those lines. If you've got a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips, it is important for you to explore that if said knowledge is something that you don't have, right? The trade-off with that comes is if you're letting these other, oh bless me, wow, look at that, hey, bloody hell, there's a first for the podcast. A live, unedited, ridiculously powerful sneeze. There is an aspect of that information where you need to take ownership of your place and understanding within it. Right? It is not just up to these professionals or these books or these apps or these search engines or whatever it is to provide that kind of knowledge to you, for you. It has to be something that you ingest and place and store within here so that you can use it moving forwards, right? It's all very well and good watching a video online that says person X moved their elbow in this way, therefore they are hiding something, whatever it is, and however true that might be in that moment. It is up to you to then take that knowledge on and then move it on to other adjacent or related topics to then be able to critically assess what it is that you've seen, rather than just provide some kind of corollary or some kind of equivocation that's going on in that moment. Just because you've seen it here doesn't mean that it automatically correlates to there. So that requires your active use of the information to put it to better use, to get involved with this. That is the kind of trade-off with Google in that way, is you can find out anything just by typing in a question and it will spit out the answer. Do you really learn anything though as a result? Do you take any kinds of knowledge, growth, understanding away from that, as opposed to somebody just telling you the answer to a question? If you wanted to understand how to bake a cake, it's the difference between somebody saying, well, just put these ingredients in a bowl, put it in the oven, and away you go, versus somebody standing by you whilst you do it. that is getting involved with that information there, right? It's a catch 22 because we live in a wonderful age where there is so much available to us that we refuse to look further, right? Has there ever been a question that's been plaguing you where you've gone, well, it doesn't matter, or it can't be that important, or I'll find out some other time, or whatever it is? Or are you the type of person that Googles it right then and there and goes, huh, that's the answer to whatever the question is, and then takes that on and then is able to repeat it back to somebody else if they ask the question, in a different way? Let's have a look, another comment. And it's kind of a paradox because we have access to more information than ever, and even though we don't have as many people that are self-taught, right? It's the autodidactic paradox in that way. It comes from the arguments from authority. You see it a lot in this particular field. Joe Blogs, John Doe, whatever kind of anonymous name you want to attach. John Doe has worked for the SWAT division for 30 years and has published a book. Therefore, he has something worthy of note, and whatever he says is going to be relevant and particular to what it is that's going on. Now, there are a lot of people that wouldn't critique that further, and it's not about being critical for the sake of being neurotic or anything else. It is the accepted prevalence of the availability of data, right? We should be looking to qualify all aspects of information along this line in terms of its place within our lives. Even with me saying this, there should, if you are not intellectually lazy, there should be people questioning what I'm saying in terms of its placement within your life. Instead of just going, oh, okay, well, he's encouraging us to be a bit more open-minded or a bit more critical or a bit more whatever it is. You can sit by and ask you, oh, well, what if I don't want to be? What if I don't need to be? What if I'm just Sherlock Holmes through a fandom, through an interest in the film and TV adaptations? Right? Yeah, I mean, it's equally as relevant to this particular way. So, information overload and information access is something that you want to watch for. Okay. The next thing would be this kind of, I mean, and it's a trade-off of the information overload and the information access. It is the over reliance on automation, the over reliance on this kind of pre-packaged solution to whatever it is that you're working towards, right? Let's say, for example, I am looking to understand um, the many different forms of human movement from around the world. Human movement, human behavior, body language, thermodynamics, non-verbals, whatever you want to call it. A rose by any other name would still smell as sweet. I was saying this after all in training earlier. Now, there might be a reliance on the automation practices of I've seen this crossed arm motion, therefore it means this, by way of cognitive comfort almost. And yes, for every 100 manifestations of an arm cross you might notice, there might be one or two that do that to indicate that they are disconnected or disagreeing or disapproving or some other kind of disword that fits that particular description. What we need to encourage ourselves to do behaviorally, habitually, within that particular discipline is, even if that is the first thing that occurs to us, is to critique the automation. right? If I think that person is um, disagreeable after they've crossed their arms for whatever reason, it's all very well and good to go, okay, I think that because it's based on this book that I read and this guy that I said it or this podcast that I heard. Fair enough. But that is a reliance on the automative practice of listening to whoever it is that's in that podcast, or just regurgitating whatever it is that you've seen in that book. There needs to be the application of it to your particular culture, your particular social group, your particular part of the world, your particular time of day that you're seeing it in, or location, or the action that's accompanied it, and how you've reasoned your way through these particular materials. Right? There are so many moving parts to it that the automation isn't automatic. Right? The automation practice should be the building of a properly nurtured cognitive habit when it comes to observed data. Right? I realize I should be looking up here to you, but I want to look at you guys who are down here on my screen, even though you're up here where the camera is. You know, I mean, uh, there are a bunch, comments coming in, and in reality, the person just have their arms crossed because it's very cold. 100%. There is a plethora of reasons why that could be there, a plethora of reasons why that could be seen. And with this information access and a lack of reliance on automation, we have to be wary of um, of information overload. Right? Take for example, I'm really quite enjoying learning the languages that I am. Right, which is like seven, I think, at the moment. And though I have a particularly good grounding in all of them, to a kind of better than tourist level, but by no means fluent. By no means fluent. Kind of capacity for them. One has to ask oneself, to sound as posh as I possibly can in the moment, if I would be further along in one of those topics if I chose to focus on just one of the languages. The answer to that is, of course I would. Of course I would, because I'm focusing that one unique property that we all share, time, into one particular. I'm not, Mr. Jane, Mr. Jane. I'm not learning Portuguese. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Just as a side note, there was um, an opportunity for work that I had come in involving a few geniuses. I think that's really the only way to put it. And I know that word is kind of devolved in its standing in society at the minute, but know that I still hold that position, that title, in high regard. So when I say that these people are geniuses, I mean exactly that. Um, and the work that I'm looking at having the opportunity to get involved with takes place in Portugal. And I'll read you the conversation out. I won't show it to you because it's got names and everything involved. One of them was saying, and it's where lives, and he kindly offered an invitation for us to join him there. Selfishly, I miss Portugal and want to spend some time there. I was like, okay, fair enough. I'm not learning Portuguese though. And one of the other chaps in there is either playful or knows me very well or both. Bear in mind, I've never spoke to him properly face to face. I think I've seen him twice in Zoom calls. Uh, he puts, "Come on, Ben, accept the challenge." And to which my reply was, "Don't! I can't take another challenge. It's the perfect way to rob my attention," he says with his resolve failing. Um, I mean, I yeah, I'm not doing it. Forget the arms cross. Not doing it. Um, but this is some of the things that we have to be aware of is information overload, regardless of how much capacity or bandwidth or brain power or whatever you want to call it that we put behind our activities. There will come a moment, whether it be consciously, unconsciously, non consciously, depending upon what your beliefs in that particular discipline are, that your brain will go, I'm out. I've had enough. I need some rest. I need to recover. I need to consolidate. I need to do whatever it is that allows me the time, effort, energy, and attention of taking in more data and information at a later stage. So those are the main pitfalls of technology as it exists in this area and how it would directly affect Sherlock Holmes were he alive today. There are a number of different things that we could look at that exist on top of that in terms of things like um, data analysis or uh, I don't know whether you call them like visualization tools or whiteboard tools like Miro and the like. It's a great um, visual mind mapping practice um, that is available. I think it's got a free account. Uh, I'm not 100% sure, but that would allow you to put your mind maps down in front of you, and it's like endless paper that you can keep kind of just putting out more chairs with. The reason I'm not connecting this particular podcast to that is because data analysis he does here, and visualization tools he does here, right? The other aspects affect here, which is where a lot of his work is done, right? If you look at pun kind of intended, arguably intended. If you look at the main focus of where he works, it's taken in through the senses. So it's taken in through the eyes, the nose, the ears, what he can touch. He very rarely tastes certain things outside of laboratory testing, but it's all processed here. So if we can't take it in, then we can't use it. It's really that simple. And so when it comes to the information access, the reliance on automation, and the information overloads, this is a journey of things that we need to be aware of when it comes to us as deductionists, as people readers, as insert whatever synonym that you want to use. This is something that becomes relevant to what we are and our capability and our capacity in the moment. Right? So there we go. Short one today because it is keeping down to the requirements, the moving parts, as it were, making sure you've got the main crux of the matter. There is nothing wrong with using apps. There's nothing wrong with using Google. There's nothing wrong with using whatever. But it's when you either disconnect because you've got it all there in front of you so you don't process it, right? Or you become overloaded because there is so much there that you want to take it all in, right? Or whether it is that you've come across this new method that does all your thinking for you, so you only have to employ these 7 heuristic steps, or 12 steps is a popular one. We need to have more faith and cognizance and presence and capacity for using this more. This is something that's not used to the best of our abilities as those that exist in the 21st century. Like one of the most prevalent examples that I joke about a lot, but that's only because it is so prevalent, is it's something that's going on over here in the UK with the general election coming up. The Tories, the Conservatives, are in power at the minute, and there's a lot of, oh well, it would be just the same if Labour were in charge, or oh, it would be just the same if Reform were in charge, oh, it would be just the same if the Greens are in charge, right? Based on what? There is an overabundance and information overload of political data and opinions connected to it that cloud judgment. Vote for whoever the smeg you want, but do it based on the information that you can confirm. Right? So when people say things like this, and I say, okay, cool, based on what? The Conservatives have been in power for 14 years, so how do you know it would be just the same? There's no critical capacity to that because they've got all of this information that exists in front of them. And I'm being very general about the they because there's no particular group or individual. It's just somebody that becomes that enraptured with the overabundance of data that they see in front of them that they don't think about it any further. That's all. That's something that we can bring to our work as people readers, let's call it. People observers. It's probably a better way of looking at it that way. Okay? So, with that in mind, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. And I will see you next week for another flurry into the podcast realm. Take care. Bye.